So my name is Alan. I'm a student at UCLA. Today I'll be, kind of like emceeing this webinar. So first, I'd like to welcome everybody to the Renewable Urban Pioneers webinar on deforestation. Thank you all again for spending your Saturday with us. I know you may have some other things that you might rather be doing, but I promise you that this is an extremely important topic in which we will be covering today. Now, the purpose of today is one, to raise awareness about the topic of deforestation. Our organization has also created this webinar for the purpose of gathering the concerned younger generation together, and in order to discuss the global issue of deforestation, and to inspire others to enact change and enact change ourselves. So I hope you learned something from our webinar today and are inspired to continue to raise awareness and to support this issue of deforestation. So next, I'm going to hand it over to the director of AEC, Dr. Simone Hicks, and Robert Ju, who is our coach for Renewable Urban Pioneers, and they'll be giving you a little overview of who we are as an organization.
Thank you for the introduction, Alan. I appreciate it. Let me get my screen together. I'm looking for the presentation.
Yes. Hi, Joy. Would you please help for the PPT?
Oh, sorry. I think my internet was off for a second.
No worries. Can you all hear me okay?
Yes.
Awesome. Thank you for the introduction. So again, welcome. Thank you for spending your Saturday evening with us. We're really excited. We're hopeful that this will be a fruitful conversation. We hope that we all leave with new ideas and just hope that we grow our knowledge base. So I'm just going to give a brief introduction of American Educated Chinese Foundation, which you will hear referred throughout this presentation as AEC. We are a nonprofit organization located in Los Angeles, California, and a certifying organization for the President's Volunteer Service Award. The mission of AEC is developed for Chinese and American students to grow into global leaders and innovators by providing mentor training and opportunities to engage in service learning. This is an organization we deeply value. We welcome students. We welcome fostering professional development opportunities and opportunities for students to build their leadership skills and have agency in their journey as they continue their education. So part of our organization is we have two clubs that we are running right now, and I will say this is student-led. One is the Environmental Conservation Group. We'll have more information about that throughout our time tonight. Another one is the Special Education Group. The Special Education Group was designed to share more information and bring more awareness to individuals with disabilities, how they're navigating their lives, the stigma around disabilities, and grow more of that knowledge base in China. So we're excited for those projects. What you see here is the could we go to the special education slide? Yes, the special education project. So we have a partner, so we're not doing this event solo. We also have a president, the board of directors, and we have a marketing and operations and fundraising team. The students are preparing to launch a documentary, so there are some great things to come.
And I'll introduce the RUP team. So we brought together a bunch of students who were concerned about the environment, and we wanted to do a conservation project. So we started with doing some research. As you know, environmental issues are broad and global. So after doing some research, we took a vote and decided that we would focus on the issue of deforestation. Next, please. And so after doing the research, we started off with some internal presentations where we shared the knowledge from our research and also gave the students opportunities to develop their presentation skills. Then we took all of our learnings and we wrote 3 articles, which we post on social media, as well as it was published in a local newspaper, as well as it's scheduled to be published in a scientific journal. So the first step was to raise awareness. Next, please. Then we decided that we should take some actions. So we recently started a t-shirt campaign. So we're all kind of wearing the t-shirt. We designed the logo and start selling it in the US and in China. And thus far, we've sold about 100 t-shirts, raised about $1,400. And the campaign's still going. In addition to selling the t-shirts, we just started working on producing some videos so that we can post them on social media with a link to the GoFundMe link site so that people can understand more about the issue, and if they want to get involved or donate, they can do that directly. And then we also have webinars like these and other events. So we're just getting started. I'm really proud of the team. I think they're doing a great job. First of all, understanding the issue, and then secondly, sharing what they've learned with others.
All right. So thank you, Robert. That was very informative. So how tonight's going to work, first, we're going to have our 2 speakers. We're going to have Whitney Petrilli from Rainforest Trust and Daniel Brindis from Greenpeace International. And they'll be talking about their organizations and, what they're doing right now in terms of, helping in the fight against deforestation. So our first speaker tonight will be Whitney Petrilli from Rainforest Trust. Whitney is the Major Gifts Officer of Rainforest Trust, and she has done some great work with Planned Parenthood, with the Planned Parenthood Federation of America, as well as the Defenders of Wildlife, and is now more devoting her time to environmental activism. So Whitney, please go ahead and give us your presentation.
All right, well, thank you all for having me. I love to see so many young, energetic people coming out on a Saturday night to learn more about, rainforest and, environmental issues and conservation. And so I just wanted to thank you all for inviting me. I've got a little presentation here, and then as I go along, if you have any questions or if you want to, questions at the end, I'm certainly willing to answer them. And this little presentation pretty much will tell you a little bit about what we do at Rainforest Trust, and just some of the things that, what our mission is, and some of the impacts we've had over the years that we've been around. We were established in 1988. So we've, I guess it's like a little over 31 years that we've been around. So, and we're hoping to, do more good work. So anyway, so I'm going to start my presentation, and we will take it away. And I'm going to share it. Okay. Hopefully, can you see it? Okay, great. Okay, so just this Rainforest Trust, start off. Hold on a second. Just start with a little video, tell you a little bit about us. Can you hear it?
No, the sound isn't coming through.
You can't hear it.
No.
Okay. All right. Well, let's be visual then. Okay, let's just move on since the video, the sound wasn't working. So anyway, our mission at Rainforest Trust is to purchase and protect threatened rainforest to save endangered wildlife through community engagement and local partnerships. We're established in 1988, and Rainforest Trust works around the tropics to strategically purchase and protect lands vital for endangered species and indigenous communities. We specifically target the most threatened tropical habitats that are critical for preventing species extinctions and that are exceptionally rich in biologic diversity. Last year, we celebrated 31 years of lasting conservation. Okay, how do we do it? After we safeguard acres of Rainforest Trust, let me just move this over. Rainforest Trust protects tropical forests and endangered wildlife by partnering with local and community organizations in and around the areas that are being threatened. We do it through land purchase, designation through new parks or reserves, and land titling. After we safeguard acres of endangered land, we empower local communities to help protect it by offering education and training. Through these highly effective partnerships, we can ensure sustainable results necessary for the long-term protection of tropical ecosystems and wildlife they hold. So the first we do this is through land purchase. Land purchase is when you buy small plots of land in high value areas. These are often made to save the last population of threatened species. The next is through land designations or designations. Designations are for new, oh my gosh, hold on, go back. Oh, whoops, sorry. Designations are for new national parks or reserves are created by governments and can cover entire landscapes or vulnerable wildlife populations. We focus on more than just rainforests though. In 2018, we were able to support the designation over 10,000 acres of marine habitat. And we're still working to protect another 162,000 acres for the scalloped hammerhead sharks. That's what you're seeing here. All right, next way we do it is through land titling. With land titling, we focus on helping indigenous communities gain legal rights to their land or working with communities to set aside land for conservation. We're currently working with 220 communities covering more than 6 million acres in Peru. So without the titles to their lands, these native communities would have no legal way to defend their lands from activities like logging and agriculture expansion. All right, so where does Rainforest Trust work? Rainforest Trust helps create and manage new protected areas across the tropics and subtropics, mainly focused in Central and South America, Asia, and Africa. We have 126 projects around the globe. We work with 94 partners and 51 countries. So we focus on establishing protected areas and unprotected key to biodiverse areas, home to significant populations of critically endangered species. We use a global database, including the KBA, IUCN Red List, and the IUCN World Database for protecting areas for prioritizing where we work. So this is where you can see the map of where our current projects are. We've got the yellow dots, the ongoing projects, the orange are the completed projects and that we finished in 2018. And then in the green dots are projects that we finished before then. So you can see we've got projects all over the world. So let's see. Oops, I keep going, jumping ahead. Currently, and since 1988, we've helped save over 24.7 million acres. And through these highly effective partnerships, we can ensure the sustainable results necessary for the long-term protection of tropical ecosystems and the wildlife we hold, or they hold. So moving on. All right, so all Rainforest at Rainforest Trust, we use the IUCN International Union for the Conservation of Nature. This IUCN Red List of Threatened Species is the world's most comprehensive inventory of the global conservation status of biological species. It's a set of criteria to evaluate the extinction risk of thousands of species and subspecies. It contains criteria and categories to classify the conservation status of individual species, or basically the probability of their extinction. And so it's a way to classify them and prioritize them. Next, okay, protected criteria, KBA, that's what I was referring to before. Rainforest Trust is a member of the Key Biodiverse Area Partnership, and that they map and they monitor and they conserve the most important places for life on Earth. And then the next, our project criteria. Rainforest Trust uses the IUCN World Database of Protected Areas to determine which KBAs are not currently protected and require protection based on the presence of critically endangered and endangered species. So, oops, jumped ahead. All right, how do we do this? We work with partners on the ground. We at Rainforest Trust partner with local NGOs, and they actually bring the projects to us. You know, they'll find a plot of land, a place where they've got critically endangered species that they know are going to go extinct if we don't save it. And so they bring these projects to us. We evaluate them. We do our due diligence, make sure that we'll do a rapid study to see that the animals that are, that are listed on that IUCN list are in there. And then anyway, we take those projects, we bring them to our board. And then based upon the criteria and the due diligence we do in the review of the projects, then we then decide which ones get funded. And just this last weekend, our board met. There were 17 projects that were brought before the board, and 14 of them have been funded or will be funded. And so they've been approved. And so now we're in the process of raising money to fund those projects. And so that's basically how our system works. We go out, we determine what projects and what landscapes need to be saved, and then we raise the money and we do it. So, but we do it through our partners though. We always have a partner on the ground that brings the project to us, because if you don't have buy-in at the local level, it doesn't work. We can't be this savior organization that just comes in and buys land. We need to have the community involvement, and that's really critical with any of our projects. So, importance of rainforests. They're home to unique species that depend on their protection for survival. There's high biodiversity. They produce oxygen, home to indigenous communities, carbon storage, scientific and medical discoveries. So that's basically why. No one knew, and no one in the rainforest, no one knows exactly how many species live in the world's tropical rainforest. Estimates range from 3 to 50 million species. Rainforests are the undisputed champions of biodiversity among the world's ecosystems. 1/4 of all medicines come from plants found in the rainforest. Here you have a brown spider monkey with this little guy on his back, or her back probably. Just a nice draft picture. And I don't know what this is going to work either. I'm sorry. Can you hear the video? If not, I'll just advance over it.
We can hear a little bit.
A little bit, okay. Since this video was created, we have protected over 124 million acres and the carbon stored within. Rainforest Trust has reduced the emissions equivalent to every passenger vehicle currently on the planet. That's a lot. 1.06 billion, plus 278 million more. And we're not going to slow down anytime soon. We've got a lot more to go. So, Rainforest Trust shares your concern about the increase of fires burning in the rainforest around the world in Brazil, Dominican Republic, of Congo, Bolivia, Indonesia, Angola, and across the tropics. Fires are an annual cycle, natural and man-made. They're intensifying by the climate crisis, though. Weather patterns, deforestation for agricultural conservation, conversion, economic and political reasons. Unfortunately, the number of fires and corresponding number of acres destroyed increases each year. Whoops. Moving on. Further, the loss of habitat through illegal logging and development exacerbates the intensity and the duration of these fires. Stopping deforestation and of rainforests in particular has been Rainforest Trust's mission for 31 plus years. By protecting species in their habitat, we're able to decrease deforestation from logging and slash and burn agriculture. This map right here, now this, I don't know if any of you are familiar with the Global Forest Watch fires. It's a website. They actually keep track in fairly real time forest fires that are occurring. So Global Forest Watch reports the destruction of rainforests increasing significantly in 2019. We humans cut and burn an area the size of Massachusetts and Connecticut combined, releasing 2 billion tons of carbon into the atmosphere, more than the annual emissions of all the vehicles in the United States. Old growth or primary tropical forests, rainforests, are an important forest ecosystem. They contain trees that can be hundreds or even thousands of years old. They store more carbon than the forest and are irreplaceable when it comes to sustainable biodiversity. So, question is, what can you do? You can be informed about the situation, visit sites like Global Forest Watch fires. You can share your passion for rainforest with other friends, educate them about the issues and why it's important, make your voice for the environment heard in your local and national elections, continue to support organizations like Rainforest Trust. You can also follow us on social media. We do Twitter, we do Instagram, we do Facebook. So it'll, you can go to donate, you can donate to organizations. I highly suggest you check out Charity Navigator if you haven't already. Rainforest Trust has a 4-star Charity Navigator rating, as high as you can get. So, why support Rainforest Trust? Well, over 24.7 million acres of land have been safeguarded since 1988. Each tree protected stores carbon and is home to wildlife. The carbon we sequestered last year alone was equal to yearly average emissions of 40.1 million cars in the United States. Rainforest Trust has protected over 38,000 species. And due to the generous support of our board of directors, 100% of individuals, corporations, and foundation gifts are allocated to projects and direct conservation action. We're very fortunate. We have a great board that supports us. And so our overhead is paid for by our board. So when you give to Rainforest Trust, when you donate, 100% of that donation is going to go to the project. So, okay, so, and a Saves Challenge. Basically, every dollar donated, as I said, every dollar donated through the Saves Challenge and our many conservation projects across the planet, and it'll be doubled. We have a very generous donor. Oops, keep skipping ahead. We have a very generous donor that has offered us a match up to $50 million. And so every time you donate to one of our projects, it gets matched by this special donor. So you give $100, it's going to be doubled. It's going to be worth $200. And at on average, it's about $2 an acre through all of our projects. So basically, let's say you give $100, it gets matched by the donor. And so it's worth $200. And then it basically buys, can buy a lot of acres then. So anyway, I'm going to go with one more video and you can listen to this one as well.
Sorry,
right.
Whitney, we can't hear the sound. I think if you stop sharing and resharing it, by sharing your desktop, the video will come through.
I don't know. Stop sharing. Okay.
Yeah, so instead of sharing the PowerPoint, share your desktop, and then the sound will come through.
Mm-hmm. Come on. Oh, now it's frozen. Stop responding. I'm so sorry. Whoop, there we go. Can you hear it?
Unfortunately, the sound is still not working.
No.
Oh, we can hear it.
How about we have another speaker to share?
Okay. All right. Well, that was the end of it anyway. I'm
Yeah.
sorry. So anyway, basically, I just wanted to wrap it up and say thank you for inviting me. I hope you've learned a little bit about what Rainforest Trust does and what our, our projects and what our mission and how we do it. And if at the end or whenever you have any questions, just please let me know and I'd love to answer them for you. And I will stop sharing my screen now.
And these videos are on YouTube, right? I think people can go directly and watch.
Yeah, if you go to our website, we have a page that just does videos, and they're on there.
Okay.
All right. Thank you very much, Whitney.
Thank you, Alan, for inviting me.
Putting aside technical difficulties, of course, it's on Zoom, right? We have to have some of those. So if anybody has questions, you can go ahead, type it in the Q&A chat, or you can please save them if you want to ask verbally, save them till the end after Daniel Brindis presents. So our next speaker tonight will be Daniel Brindis from Greenpeace International. Now, Daniel is the Forest Campaigns Director for Greenpeace right now. That is the section that is based in San Francisco. And he has done some great work in the past in terms of environmental activism in both the Amazon as well as the Canadian Boreal. So Daniel, please go ahead and you're free to present.
Thank you. And I have a quick presentation. Let's see if I can do this right. Put the share screen. Okay. So thank you, Alan. My name is Daniel. I'm based in Oakland, California. It's good to see a lot of other Californians here. And a lot of us have been feeling the wildfires here in California, and also thinking about the ones that are happening in the Amazon right now. And the ones in the Amazon are actually, it's really interesting to see a pattern of the forest on fire, but there's a big difference because the fires happen in the Amazon and in Indonesia are burned on purpose. So the way that I frame my work on forests is I talk about the idea of restoring forests, restoring hope. Right, we're in a climate emergency. It's not climate change. It's not a climate crisis. It's kind of the point of a climate emergency, and as we're experiencing now. And forests are a natural climate solution. It's not a fancy technology to invent. It's something that exists that can actually take greenhouse gas pollution out of the air. And we can reach a safe climate if we protect forests and also restore the forests that we've lost. And it's not, I don't know why it's not advancing. Hold on. Sorry about this. Okay, great. So really our mission here is to, so just a bit about Greenpeace. We're present in over 55 countries around the world, founded 50 years ago. Actually, yesterday was our anniversary for the 50 years that we've been around. We started in Vancouver, and we're well known for our marine actions, for our ships that travel all over the world. And right now we work on oil extraction, forest protection, food systems, and also toxic chemicals, and also protecting marine life and oceans. And we're different. You know, what's really interesting about the space of civil society and non-governmental organizations, NGOs, is that we all have different approaches. So there's the conservation approach that we just heard, that's about you know, securing more protected areas. And then there's also organizations like myself that do advocacy. And I'm going to talk to you about how we do that advocacy, and also just what are the issues that we're focused on. And the thing that's also unique about Greenpeace is we're politically and financially independent. So we don't take money from private companies nor governments, and which makes us different. And so this picture below is an activity that was recently done in Austria, from Greenpeace Austria, to highlight, it's a 3D projection and highlighting the connection between the jaguars and the forests, and bringing the light to attention to the crisis happening in the Amazon today under the current Brazilian government. So forests are our major, our priority for us. Oh, God, I just lost, sorry. They're a priority for us because they're so key to climate change. There was a landmark study that 2 years ago that talked about how it's just as important to phase out fossil fuels and go to clean energy as it is to as protecting forests. And the last presentation, Whitney's presentation, really highlighted just the sheer amount of climate change causing emissions that are released during deforestation, forest and logging, and conversion and burning, the whole cycle. So a key reason why I got into this was because I'm human rights activist, right? And so there's a strong connection between indigenous peoples and deforestation. So forests are very important for indigenous peoples, but also like when the rights of indigenous peoples are honored and respected, the forest is in better shape. So that's also a key part of what our demands are. It's respecting human rights, indigenous people's rights, as well as ending deforestation. This is what deforestation looks like on the ground. This is area being cleared for palm oil in Indonesia. These are some of the most carbon dense forests in the world, because beneath them is often peatlands, which is like a swamp that's very rich in carbon. And you can see the difference. One side you have the bulldozers, the massive clearing, the large scale clearing that you can see from space, and then what the forest was before. So we need to stop the deforestation. We need to restore forests. This is actually a tree planting project in China, a restoration project. And it's also important that restoration is done not just in plantations, but also trying to recreate the biodiversity that was there before in terms of the variety of species. And then we also have scientists have been also identifying how there's other forests outside of rainforests or even forests, other types of ecosystems. This is the Cerrado grasslands in Brazil, which are also critical for keeping a safe climate. And so one thing the science now is saying that we actually need to bring the forest back that we've lost. And we can't lose any more nature to have a safe climate. So it's a major question, but also it impacts the way we live and consume now if we want to maintain this amount of forest and nature that's be safe. So Greenpeace is really well known for its nonviolent direct action protests. This is a group of activists that have confronted a shipment of palm oil from Indonesia that was going towards Rotterdam. And on this ship was palm oil connected to major trader Wilmar in Indonesia, who was linked to deforestation, human rights abuses. So we called it dirty palm oil. Not all palm oil is dirty, but we call it dirty palm oil to reference the exploitation and the deforestation that often occurs in palm oil production, at least from this company. And then we also, we do campaigns around corporations that source from palm oil. This is an activist giving a giant Oreo cookie to an executive at Mondelez who makes Oreo cookies, because in this campaign we're highlighting how the filling of the Oreo cookie is made with palm oil connected with a supplier involved in deforestation. And so the drivers of deforestation, so forests are not cleared for fun, they're cleared for profit. And so what we track is that there's some commodities that are what we call forest risk commodities. These are the commodities that make that are the drivers behind deforestation. So we see, and it involves us as consumers. So beef and cattle is a big one in Brazil. The next one is a bucket of chicken, because the soy animal feed requires a lot of land, and that's what feeds most poultry internationally. Pulp and paper, so this is your toilet paper that may not come from deforestation, but often comes from degradation, or sometimes it's a plantation that is established over a cleared rainforest. And the last one, all these snack foods represent palm oil. Palm oil is in every room of your house. It's in cosmetics, soaps, cleaning products, snacks. A lot of the Halloween candy has palm oil in it. Palm oil is a relatively new ingredient, but it's in everything. And it comes from Indonesia, Malaysia, sometimes West Africa, Colombia, sometimes Brazil, and it can be produced in a way that's very destructive for the climate and for species, but it can be done better. We believe it can be done better. And then the other driver of deforestation is not just food and agriculture, but also, this is not, there is also biofuels. So there isn't an actual cleared piece of land. This is a Photoshop, but this is just to show that a lot of palm oil now, and also soy oil, is targeted to start to be used as an alternative to petroleum. And this is a climate solution where they're going to actually cause more harm than good, because they're going to transition from dirty oil to use a commodity that a natural biofuel, but actually in order to produce that biofuel, they need to clear a lot of forest in the process. So it's a big controversy. This is going to be the next frontier of forest advocacy. Whether or not we can stick with electricity, solar power, public transportation, and other alternative transportation models, as opposed to just replacing something else in the gas tank. We do a lot of reports. This is an investigation we did that tracked how companies were doing and commitments that they made to end deforestation in their supply chains. We talked to a lot of companies you might know, Johnson & Johnson, Kellogg, Mars, and we asked them, and we examined whether or not they had forest policies, whether or not they were honoring them, moving towards them. And unfortunately, we found that a lot of them were breaking their commitments. And so this is a slide of an activity we did in Vancouver at a conference where a lot of these companies were represented to talk about how they were still destroying forests, that's how they weren't meeting their deadlines. And then the other thing that's occurring is just we're in an extinction crisis. We're on track to lose 1 million species due to wild habitat loss, both marine and forests. And then the other thing that is a major change is just the idea that there's a recognition now that we won't be able to expand as much meat consumption as we are on the trajectory to, and have enough forests for a safe climate. So right now we're saying less meat, less heat. We're asking, we're trying to reduce the amount of meat consumed by 50% by 2050, and that's a major it's a major change for folks. I think this is a different approach that we're seeing now than the animal rights campaigns in the past when we talked about going vegan or vegetarian. But I think this is just a recognition of ecological limits. Just how you recycle or use less plastic. You should be eating less meat, especially if you've been especially if you're in a country like the U.S. that eats more meat than per capita than the rest of the world, and has been historically. And then also the Amazon fires. This is actually last year, not this year, which is just as bad. The fires happening all over Brazil. This is a map of the peak of all the hot spots happening. And the fires are, the deforestation is happening year round, but the fires happen, to finalize the process and clear out their vegetation. And then the following year, there's cattle or soy pasture. And so and it also dries out the forest in the process. So, and we're, things are a real crisis point in the Amazon because we're reaching a tipping point where if we lose enough forest that it won't be able to sustain itself as an ecosystem, a rainforest ecosystem, and it's going to turn into savanna. So that you bear that in mind. And so what we do is we often will go into the field. We have a field office in the middle of the Amazon in Manaus. We'll do flyovers, we'll do investigations, we do a lot of research, figuring out who's buying from who and who's ultimately responsible and who's bringing the deforestation, who's financing the deforestation and bringing the products from the deforestation to the consumer. And this is another shot of the fires. And recently we just did one that linked actually a supermarket in Hong Kong. They called Safe Pack. Did I get that right? Sorry. Oops. So we just found we following the shipments, we were able to figure out that there was it's Park and Shop. We found that Park and Shop was selling. I get some nods. It was selling beef from JBS, who's a very big meat packer here in the U.S. as well, but they're the largest in Brazil, and they're linked to deforestation. So there's a day of so this company buys from farms that are illegally established in protected areas like conservation parks, state parks, and then there's ranches that are that deforest, that seize the land, that are illegally established, and then they sell to this company, and this company was shipping to Hong Kong. So it got some pickup in the South China Morning Post. The Daily Apple did a video about it, and I can share that link here for folks. But they did they did actually do the right thing, and they said that they would not buy any more meat from JBS in the future as a result of their misconduct. So that's some good news, but also in the past, this also represents a big frontier because in the past, the campaigns have really centered around the European market, and more we're talking about Chinese companies like Kofco, who's like a major company that imports a lot of soy from Brazil, and also talking about what happens with this the most important market for forest risk commodities like soy and palm oil. And so it's really interesting. I'm really curious what's going to happen with this the new climate announcement from China, and in terms of what this might mean for taking action on forests in the future. So what's the work that we do, Indigenous peoples working with groups in Brazil, in particular, and also in Indonesia. We talk about natural climate solutions for elevating the importance of a safe climate through forests. We talk about solutions. We talk about the businesses and governments intervening. And this is a protesting a Brazilian environmental official who was visiting. And so that's the presentation. The other thing that's also on our radar is false solutions like carbon offsets. So a lot of people talk about carbon neutrality, and we want to make sure that we actually need to do both. We can't use offsets to, we pay for conservation, we use that to cancel out emissions from fossil fuels. We actually need to do both, just considering how little time we have to address the climate crisis. Thank you so much. Well, I'm here to take questions, and I'll share. I'm going to stop presenting, and then I will take I'll send that link to the 2 news stories from Hong Kong about the recent investigation. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Daniel. Daniel, thank you. Sorry. Yeah, so if anybody has any questions, go ahead, throw it in the chat, or just shout it out, and I'm sure either Whitney or Daniel will be open to answering you.
So I just got one question. How does Greenpeace use our donation to fight deforestation? That's a good question. I mean, mostly it funds staff, funds the ability for people like myself, my colleagues, to do our job. So being able to grow as an organization is really important. Being able to get our word out there and convince people who haven't heard the message that you are also trying to send is really important. So we spend money on getting into the field and that sort of and research, and that's the sort of thing that money is used for.
All right, any more questions? All right, doesn't look like there is any. I suppose we'll move on. So for the sake of discussion today, next we're going to have 2 student presentations that have been put together by our team. So the first presentation is going to be from me and my team member, Paige. We'll be talking about causes and effects of deforestation and presenting some of our research into like what deforestation really is. And then after our presentation, we'll have a presentation from our president, William, as well as TJ, who will be talking about some more statistical side of things, seeing how the world is doing right now, as well as talking through some solutions that we should all be doing in our everyday lives. All right, so I will pull up our presentation. Let me screen share. All right, can everybody see it? All right,
Yep.
thanks. Thank you. So our presentation is called like a deeper look into deforestation. And what are we going to cover? We're going to cover, what deforestation really is, why you should be caring and why it matters to, everybody, if you didn't know already. And then Paige is going to talk to you guys about some causes and effects of deforestation. So if you go online, if you don't know what deforestation is already, and you just go online and you look it up, it gives you sort of a vague definition, something along the lines of, deforestation is when humans remove or clear large areas of forest lands and ecosystems for non-forest use. And this land is also never replanted with trees. This definition seems a little vague to me. I'll show you why in the next slide. So what is deforestation really? Deforestation is the destruction of livelihoods of, millions of people who are going to rely on the forest for their everyday lives. Deforestation, hinders development of science. It destroys animal habitats and prevents the discovery of new plant and animal species. And deforestation is the destruction of the Earth's climate, and along with that, takes away a lot of the Earth's beauty. So we are destroying our planet through deforestation, and in doing so, we're also destroying our future. Daniel and Whitney also brought that up in their presentations. So why should you care, right? First of all, 1.6 billion people are relying on the forest for food, fresh water, clothing, traditional medicines, and shelter. So basically, everything for them to live, their entire livelihoods. Deforestation also, hinders science in that the existence of new plant and animal species is threatened as the forest is constantly being destroyed. Scientists have estimated that 150 to 200 species of plant, insect, bird, and mammal are becoming extinct every 24 hours. Furthermore, as our presenters brought up earlier, the forest is actually responsible for many life-saving drugs, as a lot of prescription drugs, I think about 40% of prescription drugs have compounds in them from plant, animal, or fungal species. And of course, we need to talk about climate change and greenhouse gases when we're talking about cutting down trees. Deforestation degrades the global air quality as trees absorb carbon dioxide and release oxygen. And with fewer trees, we're disrupting this carbon cycle. And so we have a lot more carbon dioxide that's not being cleared. Winrock International and Woods Hole Research, these are two of the world's leading research groups. did a study in 2012, so like 8 years ago, that showed that deforestation creates 3 billion tons of carbon dioxide per year. Now that's a large number for 2012. Like, we got to think about, you know, what's happening today. Like, how much carbon are we producing that's not being cleared? Finally, I want to say that when you have deforestation, it disrupts like the strong and beautiful nature that surrounds us. You know, not only trees and forest life, but through deforestation, the water cycle is disrupted, and you have this. And with the disruption of the water cycle, it hurts the oceans, lakes, rivers, springs. You know, anything that has to do with that. Deforestation also results in barren land, and when that happens, when land is deforested, the soil gets blown away, the fertile soil gets blown away, the top layer, and basically everything turns to sand. So I have this map here. It's a deforestation index from 2012. I just have this map to show you guys areas of extreme risk to deforestation. And, you know, in these specified countries, there's political corruption, economic crises, or whatever excuses they have, you know, in creating an environment in which their forests are at high risk for deforestation. And these countries include Nicaragua, Bolivia, Brazil, Nigeria, the DR Congo, Indonesia, Australia, Cambodia, and North Korea. These are all countries where, again, they're at extreme risk for deforestation. So now I'm going to hand it over to my partner, Paige, and she's going to talk to you guys about some causes and effects of deforestation.
All right, so in many tropical areas, trees are being cut down and are being converted into cropland and pasture. And so a concerning fact here is that tropical deforestation could actually add 2.7 degrees Fahrenheit to global temperatures by the year 2100. Another cause of deforestation is actually human activity. So road development, logging, farming are all contributors. And since humans started cutting down forests, 40% of the trees have fallen. We're also seeing that in the Amazon, industrial-scale cattle ranching and soybean production for the world markets are increasingly important causes of deforestation. And tropical forests are being destroyed at a rate of about 8 million hectares a year. Now we're going to look at some short-term effects. So one of them includes increased soil erosion. So Costa Rica actually loses 860 million tons of topsoil every year. And in Madagascar, they lose so much soil to erosion that the rivers actually run blood red and stains the surrounding Indian Ocean. Another short-term effect is water cycle disruption. When there's a loss of water from the air, it results in dry crackland, and this can lead to flooding, especially in coastal regions. And between 1900 and 2016, the sea levels rose by 16 to 21 centimeters. And at current rates, the Maldives will be uninhabitable by the year 2100. Another short-term effect here is the destruction of homeland for the indigenous people. So for many indigenous communities, the loss of forest has a great effect on their lifestyle. And there are about 250 million people who live in forest areas and depend on trees and resources around it for subsistence and income. So now we're going to look at some long-term effects. So one of them includes the loss of habitat leading to reduction of biodiversity. 70% of land animals and plant species live in forests. Deforestation puts these species at risk. Our last long-term effect is the increase in greenhouse gases. A reduction of forests leads to less carbon dioxide being absorbed. And deforestation is actually responsible for about 10% of all global warming emissions.
All right, so thank you, Paige. And next we'll have our presentation from the president of RUP, William and TJ. So let me stop sharing here, and they'll talk to you guys about, you know, a little more statistical side of things in terms of deforestation, as well as, you know, presenting some solutions in order to that you can do in your everyday lives. So William.
Thank you, Alan and Paige, for your presentations on causes and effects of deforestation. And Now, Tianjiao and I are going to talk about the data we found about deforestation and some actions that every single one of you could do to help fight against it. So, first of all, the NDVI value that we're going to be using in the analysis is used to indicate the health of vegetation. A higher NDVI value generally indicates healthier tree cover. If we look at the NDVI value of South America from 2000 to 2015, we could see a decrease of 0.113%. This means that the forests in South America are actually absorbing sunlight at a lower rate because of many factors like deforestation, unhealthy vegetation, and pollution. Forest health is not only decreasing in South America, we could also see an NDVI reduction in Papua New Guinea, Borneo, Central Africa, and many other forests.
So how large is this is this 0.113%? It is actually 20,159 kilometers square, which is equal to the area of 3,768,037 football fields, or, to be more relatable, the size of the state of Massachusetts. I'm TJ, and I'm going to go over some more analyzations. So the three dominant drivers of tree coverage loss is the red area in the graph, commodity-driven deforestation, which is the permanent conversion of forests for the expansion of commodities, such as palm oil, soil, beef, mineral, and oil and gas. The second dominant driver of tree coverage loss is shifting agricultural, which is the area of grounds cleared of vegetation and cultivated for a few years and then abandoned for a new area until its fertility has been naturally restored, which is the yellow area in the graphs. And lastly, the green areas in the graphs are the third dominant driver of tree coverage loss, forestry. It is the cut down of trees for the production of wood products, such as paper and wood furnitures. So in the graph on the right, you can see the areas of tree coverage loss, and areas on the right, left, you could see tree coverage gain. And you can clearly see that tree coverage loss is significantly more than tree coverage gain, showing that how much deforestation is happening over the globe right now. This is actually the demand for wood, which drives deforestation, is actually increasing. The world's demand for wood increased by 10.8% in the last 30 years. And to make things worse, the environment and natural resource budget given by federal spending has always been decreasing in the last tens of years. And in 2020, it is actually only 0.94% of all federal spending. And only 0.11% is used for Environmental Protection Agency, which directly relates to deforestation. And as you can see, it is the yellow area inside the blue rectangle, where the blue rectangle represents the total federal budget. Pretty small, huh? So, reviewing the effects Alan and Paige have stated in their presentation, which is mainly first, soil erosion, which causes the expansion of deserts, and second, the harm in the water cycle, which will cause decrease in rainfall, loss of fertile land, and effects on climates, such as more droughts and more floodings. And the third effect is loss of biodiversity. And the last but not least effect of deforestation is global warming, since less forests will lead to an increase in carbon dioxide concentration and the concentration of other air pollutants, which eventually will cause many people who live near the ocean coast to lose their homes due to rising sea levels, and maybe even yours.
Okay, So with all this data, what are some actions that you could do to help fight against deforestation? Well, first of all, you should eat less meat. This might seem unrelated to deforestation, but animal agriculture is responsible for nearly 91% of Amazon rainforest destruction. Furthermore, it emits more greenhouse gases than all forms of transportation combined. However, that does not mean that you should switch to being a vegetarian. Instead, you could look at alternatives such as plant-based meat or chicken, which leaves a smaller footprint on the environment. Not only can you help the environment by eating less meat, you are also improving your lifestyle. Eating less red meat could lower your cholesterol and saturated fat intake, greatly decreasing the risk of heart disease. The second thing you could do is spreading the word. You could encourage others to eat less meat on social media or just informing them about the negative effects of deforestation. But not only you should spread the word, everyone must contribute so we could lower the demand for products with high carbon or water footprints. Some things we could do is to point out corporations that do not have environmentally friendly practices like Nestle and Coca-Cola. Spreading the word could also help to bring the issue to legislators, pushing the government to enforce forest protection measures. With new regulations, we could make sure that everyone, including large corporations, works to curb deforestation. In addition, more effort would be focused on reforestation and afforestation, replenishing or creating forest covers in areas. Lastly, we should use paper products in moderation. By lowering the demand, the supply can also be reduced. We also shouldn't use products that are deforestation prone, like soybean that is not locally grown, palm oil, and etc. We should also recycle more, collect used plastic bottles, batteries, aluminum cans, and even ink cartridges, and go to their respective recycling center. Not only could you reduce pollution, you could also receive cash in return. That would be the end. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much, William, for your presentation. Now we'll open it up for a little bit of Q&A or discussion. If anybody wants to comment on anything, bring up any questions, please go ahead, type it in the chat, or just shout it out. Okay. If nobody has any questions, we can start to close. I think we've gone a little bit over time, but I'm sure we'll be done very soon. So before we close, I want to give a special thanks to our speakers, Whitney and Daniel, for their great and informative presentations. And all of us, we want to thank you as a whole for both of your amazing work and all the things that you're doing to help solve this issue of deforestation. I also want to give a quick thank you to our coach, Robert, and Dr. Simone Hicks for the time they've spent, helping us get ready and to create and present, a good webinar experience for you guys. All right, one last thing before we end. We've got, if you check the chat, I think Thomas is going to post links to Rainforest Trust, to Greenpeace, also to our GoFundMe page, RUP's GoFundMe page. Also, if you guys are interested in the t-shirt, I'm repping that right now. Thomas will put a link in the chat for that as well. All right, that's pretty much it. So thank you everybody for listening in. Thanks for having a great discussion tonight. And yeah, well.
Yeah, I just want to leave you guys with one last thing, which is I think all of us, have a responsibility as smart consumers and, global citizens. And it doesn't take much to do our part, right? Like the panelists were talking about, whether it's eating healthy, adjusting our own habits. But I think more importantly, utilize the technology out there in terms of social media to organize and really let corporations and government know as consumers what we demand, that products need to be produced in an efficient, eco-friendly way, and that government needs to protect our resources. So if we all speak up and organize, that's where we're going to make the biggest difference.
Thank you, Robert. Yeah, that's a great point. So, I mean, I hope everybody's learned something today, something useful, and I want to encourage everybody to do what they can to raise awareness and to enact change. I know that might be a little difficult to physically go out there right now, but there are tons of other ways to support the cause.
Yes, you can get online to buy the t-shirt. It's designed by our students. Yeah, that's why I want to say, yeah, great work has done by our students. Yeah. And also thank you for the guest speakers tonight. Yeah.
Well, thank you for having me. It was a pleasure sharing information about our organization.
Yeah, we will have more in the future.
Fabulous.
And yeah, thank you. And I really enjoyed Robert's closing comment. As I said in the chat, it's just that, we can be the best consumers as possible, but at the end of the day, it's too small of a number to make the change we need to, and advocacy is very important. We have petitions on our site. If you go to our website, there's allies of ours. Right now, we're also looking at investment and how Wall Street invests in this economic model that treats the forest as dispensable. So, please follow that story, and also, you don't need to wait for a campaign. Ask, the companies you buy from, tweet at them when you see palm oil. Ask them, how are you sourcing this? And spreading the word is also ultimately important. Thanks.
Yes.
All right, so it's getting to 8:15. So thank you everybody for joining again tonight. And yeah, this will be it for us. In the future, we'll definitely have some more webinars that we can put together. But for now, again, reminder to take a look at all the links posted in the chat, and enjoy the rest of your night.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Good
Take
night.
care, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye. We'll see you next time.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye. Thank you, Ellen. for the
Thank you,
great job.
Alan.
Yes.
Did
Thank you,
really
William.
good.
Yes.
Thank you.
William, Tate.
Thank you, everyone. Very good.
Okay. I think